Alright, Budget Wargamers, how's it going? We're going to be working on some Death Guard today. So up in the upper right hand corner you'll see that we are working on the Warhammer easy to build Death Guard Plague Marines. So how's it going? This is my first time on camera. I got a new camera setup. Not too happy with the Logitech up here. I think the dude on Amazon sent me the wrong one because the autofocus feature stinks, and I already had to do this once. And what we're going to cover today is how to paint the Death Guard armor. So in a real basic sense, we're going to take miniatures that have already been primed and we're going to do the armor on these guys and show you. It's real easy. This also works pretty good. We'll do like a getting started version of the Plague Bearers and the Nurglings and things like that, because this works super easy on those guys too. That way you can get an army from plastic and built to tabletop in no time. So what we've done before, if you've seen our other video, is we've gone ahead and we've got our favorite Death Guard cheap alternative. We've got the Army Green Rust-Oleum Camouflage Ultra Flat. This is awesome stuff. It's about $4 or $5 at Walmart. Going to save you guys a lot of money. Definitely better than $19.50 from G-Dubs. All right, and I've sprayed these guys already. So let's go ahead and adjust our focus. So this primer works super awesome. You can see that the color is lighter than Death Guard Green, and that's okay because one of the techniques we're going to do is we're going to start lighter. So this is a really good stand-in though for Death Guard Green. It's so cheap, and we're going to be bringing these guys up to snuff to look somewhat like these nasty dudes. So let's go ahead and try that without the light on, as we're still trying to get over our new setup. There we go. So we're going to be bringing them up. These guys aren't complete either, but their armor, at least at the real basic level, has been completed. And then that lighting or the shading will help us as a guide tone as we go through the rest of them. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to get our painting station set up. We've got paper towel here to dry off our dry brush. And we've got a nice ratty old art brush that we're going to use for dry brushing. You know, you don't want to use your nice paintbrush. So if you've got a nice Games Workshop starter brush, keep it fresh. This is a detail brush, but these starter brushes that come in these paint sets are phenomenal for just an all-purpose paintbrush. And you just want to take good care of them, not get them too wet, make sure you clean them. But something like this, nice and ratty for dry brushing, we're going to abuse the heck out of this thing. So on top of the Army Green spray, we got two other colors we're going to use here today. And these are going to be our shades. These are dries. So we've got Nurgling Green and Underhive Ash. So Nurgling Green we're going to liberally apply. Can't really shake it up, it's all dry in there. Or gooey, like a paste. And we are going to open that bad boy up. We're going to get our brush and we're going to dab it. And it is weird, almost like a silicone on the inside of there. And we're going to brush that off. Then we're going to grab our first miniature here and we're going to go to town, like hitting it from all directions. And what we're trying to do is create some depth to the miniature. This is not particularly an art form, but don't get your brush wet beforehand. That's a technique for dry brushing. I mean, it literally works best with dry brushes, believe it or not. Otherwise, you're just going to end up painting in weird areas. And we're going to press kind of hard. I mean, we're not trying to break the model, but we're trying to, with this color, trying to figure out where to hold the model to keep it on screen the best for you guys. With this color, we want to get as much contrast, and it's not much of a drastic difference from the standard primer that we used, but it's enough to create some field of view depth on this miniature. And we're going to use that to our advantage here because we're going to darken it back up with one of the Games Workshop shades. So in this technique, we're using everything Games Workshop except the primer. And if you were going to do this and try to duplicate it, that's okay. You can do Death Guard Green too. It's just going to be slightly different. And Death Guard Green, just more expensive. And here at Budget Wargamer, we do like to, we're not always trying to avoid spending money on the hobby, but we want to make sure that we're getting our money's worth. So kind of hard to tell so far the difference. Let's probably because it's getting washed out from that extra light. Let's see how it looks. You'll see it when we kick it up one more shade, so follow along with me. And it's because we're working kind of in subtlety here. So here, let's go to town. Let's get the focus on this guy right there. And we're going to come in on this thing, hit him in all kinds of directions, especially for this base one. Now this is meant to be not like a pro technique. This is meant to be every man's hobby. Just getting started in the first place. Grab yourself one of those cheap brushes from Walmart that we all cringe about. All the pros cringe, but we know we use them. Use them for painting the rims on our bases. Use them for just trashing, painting tank treads. Using the technical paints, the you name it. There's a place for it. So we're moving fast as I'm trying to hold this thing in camera and doing horribly at it. It's a new setup. I'm gonna like this setup. You guys are gonna like this because you're gonna learn stuff here. I'm gonna teach you at least. So stay with me. And we're not gonna paint the whole thing in one stage. We're gonna do like a little guide. So go grab your models, get them all primed up. Yeah, one rattle can is gonna prime your entire army of Death Guard. You're gonna prime the Poxwalkers with this. You're gonna prime the characters with it. You're gonna prime all your Plague Marines with it. You're gonna prime your Foated Blight Drone. Works fantastic on that too, so don't be afraid. And it doesn't matter whether you got the guys with the gray plastic from the Dark Imperium starter set, or whether you got these guys, like maybe this is your first set ever. That's cool too. I mean, what made you pick Plague Marines in the first place? I mean, I was excited about Plague Marines. I was getting a little bit corned out. We had Khorne in the old 40K starter set. We had Khorne in the Age of Sigmar starter set. I'm doing a horrible job keeping this guy on camera. Good thing I'm not getting technical, right? So, going ahead, wiping off a little bit of excess. It's okay to get it on there thick. We're almost like painting half this model this way, but we're leaving some of that primer. This primer, think of it like the Army Painter color primer sprays. If you've ever used those are fantastic. Those aren't completely flat though, like these Rust-Oleums and Krylons. These things are like, wow, super flat, fantastic to use. I'm just about done getting this color done. This was the Nurgling green, right on top of the Army Painter. Sorry, right on top of the Rust-Oleum spray paint. Let me flip back on my light. See, I can see these better with my light on. We'll just stick with the light this time. All right, let's get a little bit more. This dry paint's weird. If you've never used it before, it's almost like, couldn't they just let me have it normal paint? It's like I'm so used to having to do things the hard way. It's like this could actually spoil somebody, since it's never going to get your brush too wet. It's really weird. It's like, wow, it's just hard to describe. You've probably worked with them. I actually have just been using a lot of Vallejo and Army Painter stuff for the longest time, but these Games Workshop knows what they're doing. All right, so we got that guy. Let's get in focus. Okay, I think you're really going to see it on this next phase. So without cleaning the brush off, let's just go ahead and rub that off nice and good, and make sure you seal up that Nurgling green. You don't want your... These are some like $5 paints or something ungodly. Hang on to them. Don't let them dry out on you. They're already starting at a disadvantage by being technically dry, so I think they got a head start on you guys. I keep looking over there at myself. Bad choice. Let's move this more center screen. It'll make more sense. I can see you guys. All right, now I can look at you for somewhat. All right, so we've got this Underhive Ash. This is another dry paint, and we're going to dab the brush in there. We're gonna get more of it off on this one. So see how the paintbrush is just frayed? You're going to tear these paintbrushes up doing this technique. Don't be afraid. I've done a lot of miniatures with this exact paintbrush, and be surprised, I'll still come back in and I'll paint the bases black with it. But now we're going to come through and more top to bottom, so we're going to be a little bit more selective. This is a highlight, and yes, we're highlighting underneath the shade we're about to do, but for good reason, because this type of layering, by having this on the hard edges, is going to help provide some depth to the miniature. I don't know why I closed that. See, I'm just a real dude painting here. Watch some of those other people giving you pro tips, talking outside your level. This is totally something you could do. Like, you can close your eyes right now. Feel around this thing. Give it the old Helen Keller, the Stevie Wonder. You know? You can't go wrong. So don't be afraid jumping into this technique. This technique's going to produce some awesome results for you. See how the depth's coming out? The darkness in those recesses? Imagine what it's going to look like when we hit this up with that nasty shade. All right, throwing shade around at these people. So this is part one. We're going to do some more parts. We're gonna step these dudes up and paint the tentacles and stuff like that on them too. Paint the bone, paint the rotting pieces. Add some of the Nurgle rot technical paint on here too. That's optional stuff. If you're just trying to keep it cheap, man, don't go too cheap. Don't paint it from the getting started instructions. That's more like the getting your base colors down instructions. You do want to invest, sadly. Sadly for the new guys, if this is a shock to you. You're not used to like paying money before. You're not hundreds of dollars into paint like some of us are. That's okay. Start small. But so maybe this time you're going to take all your models and you're going to get them up to this stage here and stop. That's cool. Learn. Practice on some other stuff. Oh, there we go. Getting closer. It's getting closer, right? It's hard to tell contrast when you only got one type of color. I'm going over this guy again. Just one last time. Last guy. Got the blight launcher. So maybe you're just going to invest a little bit in a couple colors. You're going to get the can of spray paint, you know, or you're gonna paint them Death Guard green. It's up to you. Your call. It's going to be a little lighter if you do it this color, which is why I recommend it. It's going to work better. Lighter base color is going to work better with this dark greening, grossing out technique we're going to do next. So let me get a little bit more on there because we're having fun with this underhive ash. It's like a beige with a little tint of green. It's a Necromunda type of color, I guess. Must represent the ash that's on the ground, I'm sure, hence the name. And you'll see how you're starting to notice some bright edges come out of this guy. You can do this while you're talking. You could be watching someone on Twitch, jiving along. I just did my first Twitch stream. I think like one person watched. I'm a new guy on there. No worries. I watched some other dudes. Give some shout outs to Tabletop Wargamer, Keyline Prime, Jason, what's his channel? Man, Jason Craze. He's a local over here near me. I watch him on there too. I feel bad. Spiky Bits, I watch him too. It's been a while though. I'm getting back into the hobby, so as you can tell, I'm posting more videos, getting serious about my camera setup. All right, so check this out. Oh yeah, and this paint's almost dry. You don't even have to wait for it to dry. So we're almost ready to move on to the next step. Let me just make sure there's not any more bright highlighting I want to add on to these guys first, and there is. So get in there, you. Now, if you were to look at them right now, let's say you weren't ready to do the wash, or you don't want to do the wash because you want to keep them nice and bright. This is some good stuff. Just leaving them like it is right now for some beginners. Just the fact you got base color down there and you're ready to dry brush, that's big on the technique. I gotta move through miniatures. I paint a lot of them when I get around to painting them, and I'm getting back into it. I should say I own a lot of miniatures. Right behind me, I've got a couple cases just packed full. We'll do a tour one day, a tour of those cases. Up in the closet up here, I've got some Forge World stuff. I still haven't put together all of my Steel Legion, or not Steel Legion, Death Corps Krieg. I used to have Steel Legion. I have a few, but yeah, the Death Corps Krieg. They got some more artillery pieces to put together. I also haven't taken apart some of the crew and stuff like that. Painted up my Grenadiers. I think I'm going to do like 60 Grenadiers, but I've got Emperor's Talon, some of the Dreadnoughts from Forge World and stuff like that. So just because the channel's called Budget Wargamer doesn't mean we're not afraid to spend some money on the hobby, have some fun. All right, last technique. This is like the secret sauce. So I call it secret. It's not a secret. It's Citadel shade, Athonian camo shade. All right. Normally you're thinking, shake it up. There's a little sediment on the bottom. Shake it up. I know you're normally thinking like, dude, isn't this stuff for like painting catechins? Some jungle fighters with slime arbo. This one's gonna ruin your brush probably. That's Nurgle's rot. That's technical. We will do that later maybe. That's like the boogery stuff. All right, so careful with this shade. It's liquid. It's running. If you spill this, even the pros spill it. You're gonna be crying. Oh, they should have put this stuff in dropper bottles. You know who was smart and put stuff in dropper bottles was Army Painter. Army Painter is not only inexpensive, but this strong tone ink right here, boom, shading done. And we're gonna put that. We're gonna use that. It's like an Agrax Earth Shade, but we're gonna use that probably, or the Agrax Earth Shade, Arcadian Flesh tone, or whatever that wash is. We're gonna use that on some of the copper bits we're gonna do on a later video. So let's get these guys up to tabletop, or at least get the armor up to quality. This is an old Citadel starter brush, old trusty rusty. I have taken care of it for the most part, but once it lost duty and it no longer held its fine point that I try to maintain, or relatively fine point, pro tip right there, is it gets used for swabbing. I'll use this one to take paint out of a paint pot, mix it in my palette, and things like that. In this case, I'm going to use it as a mop. Yeah. It's a little bit of a small brush to be using as a shade mop, but let's get our models set up, and they're going to get wet. So grab them by the base, or if you've invested that $8 in that Citadel model holder, that's cool and all. The only problem is swapping one model out at a time. You could tell we're about doing batches, man. Sitting down to do this stuff, this is time consuming if you're going to paint one model at a time. But you know, maybe save some wine corks, champagne. Champagne corks are nice if you bust out the champagne, because you get that knob to hold on to at the bottom, but then they tend to want to fall over. So here's what we're doing. Let's see if I can get you a close-up. We're going in, and we are liberally applying this shade. Liberally. We are. That's why having a bigger brush than what I'm even using isn't going to hurt you. You're just throwing shade at this thing. Sometimes I'll even come back in and do a second coat. But the idea here is to get all the recesses. And the reason we're doing this now instead of later is I'm going to come back in with some like Emperor's Children, some pink horror, and we're going to paint like some bubblegum colors on these fun tentacles because I want them to pop. I don't want to do fleshy tones because then the color wheel, this green we're doing for the Death Guard armor is already in that like beige color tone. It's just going to wash out if we do too much fleshy stuff. So don't be afraid to come on in. Get it everywhere. You're going to get it on things that you're going to clean up later, and that's okay, because this could even be used like a guide coat for the rest of the things you're working on. Head to toe. We're going to let this pool up in the recesses, so we're not trying to be super clean. We're not trying to clean up the excess. It's going to take a while. Like you're going to probably plan on these guys taking like 15 minutes to dry, so another reason not to be painting them one at a time. It'll drive you nuts having to wait that long for things like this to dry for you. We're not trying to waste your time. All right. That's pretty good. I have a feeling we'll come back and we'll throw a little bit more on that dude. So this is as far as we're going to take him in this video, but we're not done yet. We got 2 more to do. And then in another video, we'll come back in and we'll work on these guys. So it'll probably take about 4, I'm guessing 4, maybe 5 videos, because I might even do a basing video. That might be cool, so that way you could end up with some half decent looking bases to finish these guys up. But I am soaking them right now, giving them an oil bath basically, head to toe. You can't go wrong with this stuff, this Citadel stuff at least. You could water it down if you want to, but my secret technique, I didn't add any water to this brush before I got started. I just went in dry and let it soak it up. So coming in, let's get a little closer to the camera action so you can see. Believe me, These pots come full to the top, and they're double sized for a reason. You are going to go through a few of these pots probably doing your whole Death Guard army. No fear there. Let's show you the difference. Whoop. Shoulder pad. Yeah. Let's get some more on there, man. Let's get into let's not be afraid of those cracks. Don't forget the backpack. You're gonna forget stuff though, and you're gonna have to come back in. Well, you're gonna either say, yeah, move on, such is life, or you're gonna come back in. Just don't let it eat at you. Don't be a perfectionist. This is plastic, dude. This is a hobby. The moment you let this get to you, like losing a game or something like that, you're not having fun anymore. You know, when I worked for Games Workshop, about 15 to 7, yeah, 15 something years ago. Anyways, I was in college when I did it. It was fun. I'd already been in the gaming since I was probably about 14-ish. I don't recall. Didn't keep a diary back then. And felt like a seasoned veteran by then. So I worked for Games Workshop. Used to teach painting, running demos, selling product, going to stores, running the old events, you know, tournaments and things like that, Rogue Trader tournament days. It was a blast. All right, so we're on to the last guy here. And like I said, I think we're going to go back through some of these guys one more time and add some more of this. This is worth its money, man. You can't really find a good replacement for this exact color. And this doesn't, you know, technically this doesn't even line up with the Games Workshop how to paint them. We're not copying the heavy metal guide on the back of the box. This is the budget Wargamer special. We're doing what we do here, and because it works. I'm not trying to sell you this product, you know. I'm not incentivized to get you to buy 15 colors. It's probably going to take about 15 colors to paint these guys. So, you know, if budget's of a concern or skills of a concern, time is of a concern, get them this far. And then the next step I would do, I'd paint the base black. Paint it black again, just like it came, you know, originally black plastic. So what you're going to end up with is basically like a half-painted version of what it looked like with the colored plastic right out of the box, which might frustrate some of you guys because you've worked so hard to get them all to this like level, and then just to make them look like a better painted version of what they came out of the box like. And I think that's why they maybe moved to colored plastics. I mean, it certainly looks better. It's more motivating to see things more ready to go out of the box instead of the gray plastic. But there's no substitution for fun for getting into it yourself. So let's go back through and one more coat of paint. We're going to grab that guy, one more coat of this shade. Here's how we're looking so far, guys. We're not quite dry. You don't want to touch the body on them, and you don't want to blow on it because you don't want to blow it out of the areas of recess. And if that ain't cool, for a little bit of work we've done so far, I don't know what is, man. So let's go in. This time we're just going to be a little bit more selective. We're going to ooze up that helmet. Any areas where it doesn't appear to be staying in the proper spots, get it back on there. I'm going to do another head to toe, because this is going to provide like that ultimate contrast. Ultimate grime, dude. The more layers you do, the darker this model is going to be. So I don't really recommend, if you're painting it as thick as I am and just like lathering it on there, I don't recommend doing like more than 2. All right, we're gonna have to ignore that phone call. We do this live, man. This isn't some studio rehearsal. All right, we gotta let him dry. He was the last one I did. Let him dry a little bit, because you don't want to put, you want to put it on while it's still a little wet. You can put it on when it's dried out already completely for that second coat. But it's okay to get in there. You just don't want to do it the second coat when it's way too wet. Stupid camera is not autofocusing, which is probably aggravating you guys more than it is me, because I'm like looking at the miniatures. You guys are trying to watch the video, I assume, at this point. You probably already stopped watching this far into it. If you made it this far, comment, let me know. Give you some loyalty points here. Alright, we're going in for that last coat on that third guy. Then when it dries, I'll come back in and I'll add a update here. Same video. I'll do it with the magic of editing. And slap it onto the end here. So we're doing, get into the neck area on this guy, get in there good. Don't forget to paint under his power claw. Paint up into the areas. There's still a ton more detail, but this covers the majority of the surface area. And we'll let them dry. I'll paint their bases black. Give a little bit more contrast. Don't forget to clean out your brush. Both brushes. You can clean out. You got to clean out that dry brush after you're done using it. This old standby brush. So we haven't even gotten into nice paint brushes yet. Don't use your nice ones for any of this stuff. Set them out to dry. Never leave them in the water because the glue is going to come and they're going to get frilled. They're going to get pressed on. You're just going to get angry. Trust me. Go ahead and let those guys dry, and we'll come back in a few minutes, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes my time, immediately your time. We'll show what they look like. All right, so we're back, War Gamers, and we've let it dry. We've painted the bases black, and we want to show you guys, me, want to show you what it looks like now up to this stage. Now this is a stopping point. You could get an army of 7 of these guys, 5 of these guys, 3 of these guys, however many you got, done, including characters, all the way up to this point for Death Guard. Now just for reference, here's what the colored plastics look like with the plastic black base just assembled. Very cool, right? All right. We're going to do a side-by-side here in a second. Hopefully the stuff's all dry here. At least dry enough. Okay. And up. So that, my friends, is the Krylon Army Green primer. And then we've got the Nurgling Green dry paint, dry brushed on top of it. Under High Vash, dry brush a little lighter on top of that. Make sure my lid's on. And then final step, Athonian Camo Shade. Now there's still a lot more details to do on this model. The tentacles, you know, the lights, the black, the Balthazar, or Warplock Bronze and Balthazar Gold for the different metal accents, some silver, you name it. But how cool does that look? That's easy, right? Like I literally showed you everything. And then comparatively, just to give you an idea, that's the base primer right there. So that's the Krylon Army Green. Look how far we took it, right? We took it from that color, we lightened it up from this color, and then we darkened it up with that shade. Give it a crazy side by side right now with those colored plastics. Not too far off. It's literally side by side, but you can see, bringing it back up to this point, these guys are looking pretty sharp, right? So, step 1, complete. Painting Death Guard Plague Marines. That's how you get started, guys. Stay tuned for our next tutorial where we're going to end up taking these guys to the next level. It's going to be a total of like 4 or maybe 5 of these videos before we have all the steps needed. So that's cool. Save up your time, save up your paint, save up your money for your paint. We're going to do these guys right. Here's the other ones. Just so you can see it's consistent, right? There's still a lot more details to go. But we're making big time progress. Get up in there. Check those dudes out. Nasty, right? All right. Be real exciting to see where we take these when we're done. Stay tuned for some more from Budget Wargamer.